the B2B go-to-market has never been more connected or more complicated. Welcome to the B2B Orchestration Podcast, where we explore the transforming modern B2B GTM.
What is a CDP? There's a lot of people that say they have one. So break it down for me.
You know, I think a CDP has three primary functions. Right? I mean, like the word CDP, customer data platform, has been thrown around by a lot in the industry. But fundamentally, a CDP has to do three things. All right, are you ready for them? A CDP has to take in data. It has to ingest data, right? It's receiving, it's catching, and then it actually has to process it, organize it. It has to, the big thing is about, this term that I learned when I moved from the marketing automation space into like learning about CDPs, which I recommend everybody do. It's important to learn, is this idea of unifying profiles. What does that mean? It means that you are you, that Ian is Ian and is not like five different versions of Ian. That's a really critical part of CDP because you have to understand the data. You have to understand the profiles, right? Unifying profiles. You're ingesting, you're unifying the profiles so you can figure out who Ian is, and then you're activating and sending that data out to activate on different places. So sending out audiences. Now, that may seem really simple, but there's a lot that goes into it, and I'm sure we're going to get into what makes each part of those. What do you need to think about on each of those pieces? Because, there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah, and I think this is a good point because the ingestion part is probably the easiest part. There's a lot of platforms out there that do ingestion, right? They can receive data from a lot of different places. Through my research on CDPs and the different types of CDPs, you have some that they tell you what the unique identifier is. They say email is our unique identifier. That's how our CDP works. Everything gets kind of connected there, and then that's how it runs off of it. The challenge is that's not always the case. And then you have others that are more advanced, where it's you can tell the system what you want to stitch to, what are the unique identifiers. So if you're pulling from multiple data sources, but I guess, can you really call it a CDP if you're just no, there's only one identifier here and that's what makes this a unique persona, right? How does someone going into researching a CDP better understand that, or maybe some better questions to ask to understand that?
Yeah, because it's, when you do that double click layer down, it's not, because at the end of the day, if you think about it, what is the purpose of a CDP? And I use the word CDP in quotes because we can call it so many different things. And I think it's important to know the function of it. What do you want to call it? What you want to call it, right? Let's not get hung up on semantics, but I think it's more important, what do I want to do as a marketer? What do I want to do as a marketer? What am I trying to do? I'm trying to take in a lot of data and I want to make it useful. I want to do something with it. Pulling a whole bunch of data in one place, right? It's I always talk about having all of the Michelin star ingredients in my refrigerator, but just because they're all in one place doesn't mean I can actually cook a Michelin star meal. I can tell you I can't, right? I can boil dumplings and that's about it. But it's the ability to, so when you ingest things in, actually, there's a lot of different things that you need to take into consideration that impact how effective you are in acting and how smart you can actually activate on that data. So when you're ingesting, things like how often do you ingest? Is it in real time? Is it every 24 hours? Is it on a trigger? Right. Those things impact, and you don't need all of it all the time. This is where we talk about data strategy, and I actually just taught a course on data strategy, right? Which is, how do you ingest? Now, here's the thing. Do you ingest raw? Do you ingest in and what they do and all the things? Do you what I call transform at ingestion? Right? Because that means, can I manipulate the data when you come into my house? If you walk in the door, I'm going to manipulate the data so when it comes in a certain way. There's pros and cons about that. It gives you more flexibility when you can do that. Or I can take in the raw data and I can manipulate inside. Yeah. Right? There's different things and there's different reasons, and there's not, and you want to be able to have a strategy of why you want to do certain things. And we'll get into why, a lot of times people don't think about those things, the strategy, right? So when you ingest, do you want to take it raw or do you want to transform? Once you're inside, what are my ability to what we call stitch? We call stitch profile, which in any day, you have your version anonymous on a web, you have your cookied version, you have your personal email, you have your, product login. all of those things,
call center data, all those things
are probably under different identifiers. And I can't imagine this day and age, you're going to have more than one. And I think it's super critical to be able to combine all of the data to know that Ian is Ian is Ian is Ian, so that I know where I can reach you and how I can reach you.
Yeah. I think a unique identifier being email was something that was very effective 5 years ago when you went onto anyone's website, the goal was give me your email. We don't do that anymore, right? Like we're past that at this point. I mean, you still like the email is still important, but nonetheless, it's like people want to be able to engage at a B2B level, like at a B2C level, right? And you're not just gunning to get an email so you can sell a pair of shoes. There's a long play here, and there's a relationship that needs to be built, and there's an experience that needs to be set there. I think another interesting thing on the ingestion part is security and all the regulations that are in place, right? Like that's another big piece. Yeah, the ingesting data into something like a data warehouse, sure, go for it. What you do with the data, how you're managing the data, that's really, really important, right? Like, and that's something within finance space, healthcare space. If you live in the state of California, like these are all things in which
for everyone. I mean, there's different levels, but like everyone's security is super important. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so like you got to have a CDP that like a platform that's thinking about those things. You can't just have a CDP that's just, we can get your data in and then we can push it out to these other places. Like that's not, I think that's where you have to ask yourself, is this truly a CDP? Because I love the way in which you laid it out. Is it doing these things, but is it doing these things effectively, right? And is it helping your business case?
And I used to own the data team, and so I had data scientists on my team where my team would actually do the data modeling and build the data model so that the data was useful. So I know exactly what needs to go into that, right? Just because all of the data is in my data lake or my data warehouse, just because they're sitting next to each other doesn't mean you can use it. And so, it's like, okay, if you want to find an audience that has these 3 characteristics, the marketers would be like, well, why is it taking so long? It's like, well, I have to assemble the data in a way so that it can be queried and pulled in the way that you want. It's just, again, just because all the ingredients are in the refrigerator doesn't mean I can put it and assemble it in a way. And it's almost like, depending on, where your data lives, how much work and how much time goes into, basically building a custom order pie every time you want to go send an audience out, right? Versus like, I'm thinking about, I need to assemble the data in a way so that it can meet the majority of the queries, which means, what the marketers are asking for. And that's a lot of where the data strategy is and where my data sits, how my data sits, how it's structured, right? This is all the stuff behind the scenes.